I'm really excited to announce Sven Pullens, COO at RIP Foods. Sven has extensive experience in building food tech startups and loves to create plant-based dishes for his carnivorous friends. Sven, can I ask you to take over the word and give us an insight into how you make such delicious plant-based chicken?
Yes, of course, Mia. Thank you very much for the introduction. So hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to speak to you all. So as explained, my name is Sven and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at RIP Foods. I've been consulting Kevin, who is the founder, for the last 6 months, but I only joined the company officially last week. So it will actually be the first time that I present and represent as well RIP Foods to the public. So please take it a bit easy on me. But today I will explain to you more about how we have created RIP Foods and what was the reason behind it. So I hope you can all see my screen now. So a lot about what has to do with the mindset, and the majority that of people have, and in our views, is a toxic mindset. And that has to do with it's always been done this way. So I would like to start off the presentation with 2 stories. And the first story is the FOSBURY flop, which is about the Mexico Olympics in 1968. And it is about the usual way for a high jumper to cross the bar, which was with his body parallel over the bar. And it was known as the Western roll.
Sorry, Sven, we see some weird objects on the presentation.
Some weird objects.
Yeah.
that's not supposed to be. Let me try it again.
Sure.
Let me see.
Just take your time.
All right. Can you see it fully right now?
There's still some weird trays. It's kind of cut on the top of it. Yeah, there.
Right. Lower it down then. Let me see. All right. So actually the story is I had a normal Windows computer and Kevin made me switch last week to a Mac. So I've been struggling like the entire week with meetings. It's horrible. So if he's watching actually, so Kevin, this is all your fault. Let me see. All right.
Maybe he can give some advice then.
Yeah, Kevin, come up. All right, but now you see, now I need to share it then. That works like this.
We don't see the weird objects anymore. Okay, now we see them again.
Now you see them again, great, great. And how about now?
We can still see the shapes, but it's fine. We can see the slide, so it's not full screen, but we can still see them.
Okay, all right. Give me one more try, right? And otherwise we have to do it like this because I don't know how to solve it otherwise. Let me see. All right. Hopefully now.
Okay, we can see it better now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great actually now.
Okay. But now I can't see my.
Okay, that's perfect now.
Yeah. All right. Give me a second. All right. So his name was Dick Fosbury.
Sorry, Sven. It's not. It's all over the screen now. The object.
Okay.
Wisdom.
We had a suggestion from Professor Rui Costa to hide your Zoom controls.
All right. So how about?
Because this worked right now. This is good now.
Okay. So I know what the problem is. This is a great start of the presentation. Let me see.
No worries, Sven. You're getting encouraging messages in the chat. So.
All right, that's very kind. I will read them afterwards. Let me see. Okay, please tell me that you're now able to see everything.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, then I go back to my story. All right, so I was at the story about the Olympic high jumper, right? So at 1968, the bar was 177 centimeters, and a little known athlete at that time approached the bar and he took off, but instead of turning his body towards the bar, he turned his back in. And with bringing up his legs and flipping over the bar, he actually exceeded the Olympic record. So his name was Dick Forsberry, and his method of jumping became known as the Fosbury flop. And it's still used today. And he jumped higher than any man before by thinking the opposite from everyone else. So where normally the record was broken with maybe 2 or 3 centimeters per Olympics, Fosbury managed to increase the bar by almost 50 centimeters at once. So talking about innovation. So this is a story of, the second story is the story of a young doctor in Germany. And it's believed that inserting a tube through the vein and into the heart could help save lives. So the doctor was nobody at the small hospital where he worked near Berlin, and his boss was unwilling to experiment. So he was told often that his idea was nonsense, and he was forbidden to carry out any kind of trial, but he didn't give up. The key in the end for him was to have access to the sterilized surgical equipment, and who had the key at that point in time? The head nurse. So he won the nurse's trust and told her about his project, and they made a deal. The nurse would not only give him the key, but also volunteer to undergo the first human catheter in history. So one afternoon, the doctor and the nurse left to the operating theater, and the head nurse was laying down on the operating table with the arms and legs tied together to perform the procedure. So the doctor sterilized the exact spot where they had agreed to make the incision, but then he left, leaving her there motionless. So in fact, all he had intended to do was to gain access to the necessary equipment, but it was not about to endanger the nurse's life. So he cut a small cut in a vein in his arm and pushed a thin rubber tube through the vein himself. But it only went as far as his shoulder. So he needed help to continue, so he returned to the nurse. So obviously she was furious at that point in time, but with half a catheter still to be inserted into his body, the doctor persuaded her to go down to the X-ray department and continue the procedure there. So the doctor was able to continue pushing the tube into his heart while she held up a mirror for him to see what she was doing. So the medical breakthrough was published, but such a scandal was created that the doctor eventually was dismissed. So sometimes innovation has its price. And I will come back later at this point in time to this story to see if it was worth it. So let's talk about, it's always been done this way. It's one of the easiest way out, yet the most dangerous thought you can imagine. So let's take meat as an example. Do we really need animals to make meat? So humans have exploited animals as a way to produce meat, fish, and dairy for millions of years. And it's always been done this way, right? Is that the reason to continue with what we are doing nowadays? So normally, sometimes we can ask the visitors here, but unfortunately I can't see you all right now with my MacBook, so it's not going well. But if we ask for the majority in a group, how many people are vegans, then maybe 5 out of 100 raise their hands. If there are vegetarians, maybe 10, 15 people raise their hands. So it still means that around 80% of the people occasionally eat meat, and some more than others. So for us, that is a main aspect at Rip Foods, to not only focus on the people who are looking for vegan or vegetarian products, but also for meat lovers who want to have the same experience and maybe try a different type of product. So is it realistic to think that for the meat lovers, after this presentation, they will stop eating meat? Well, probably no. Maybe if I have done a really good job and wouldn't be struggling with the presentation, it will be a yes. But will you at least question yourself if there's a better way to make meat in the end? So therefore, the answer hopefully is yes. So not only is it possible to make meat without using animals, but the reality is that we have no other choice at this point in time. So You, the new generation of food technologists, are facing one of the biggest challenges humanity has ever had. So how to feed a population which is expected to grow to 10 billion people by 2050. With the current way we are feeding humanity, it's not possible. The best news is that we won't be able to feed the ever-increasing population with meat especially. Some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs are working today on daring projects to colonize other planets on the premise that the environmental catastrophe that humans are created will soon make the Earth impossible to live in. But who wants to move to Mars? Well, not me, for example. So I'm doubling down on planet Earth, and instead of ditching it, why don't we make planet Earth great again? Because there is no planet B. So did you know that the use of crops, especially as a medium to produce meat, has brought us to the edge of environmental catastrophe? So just imagine that there are 50 billion animals that are feeding 8 billion humans, which are crazy numbers. But also these animals needs to be fed. And this is the real problem in the end. So to produce like 1 kilo of meat, you need about 25 kilos of grain and around 15,000 liters of water. So the destructive impact of animal agriculture on the global environment far exceeds that of any other technology on Earth. So the greenhouse gas footprint of animal agriculture equals every car, truck, bus, ship, and airplane all combined. So animal agriculture pollutes and consumes more water than any other industry. So in the end, animal agriculture is responsible for at least 80% of all greenhouse gases. So raising animals for food also creates another problem. And as we see on this chart, all the buildings, roads, and paved surfaces in the world occupy less than 1% of the Earth's land surface, while more than 45% is currently used for grazing or growing feed crops for livestock. And the other 54% is uninhabited land, as for example, the oceans, mountains, but also the North Pole and South Pole. So with that being said, meat lovers will never trade their beloved burgers and steaks for veggie burgers and tofu. And yet, expecting people to eliminate or even reduce their consumption of the animal meat, fish, and dairy foods they love is just completely unrealistic. We're not going to solve this problem by pleading with consumers to eat beans and tofu instead of meat and fish. They would like to have something that is as close as possible to the real product. So despite the growing recognition that animal agriculture is destroying the planet, the global demand for animal-derived food continues to rise. And we need to solve this problem in another way. So most people falsely relate meat, fish, and milk with the animals that produce them. But animals are not the only way to produce meat, and they are not even the best way to produce meat. And that's what we have seen at Rip Foods. So often the most consumers are disappointed by the taste and the variety of meat substitutes, and they don't appreciate as well when vegan brands criticize their values and traditions. So obviously what we also seen with the previous presentators is that first there are the early adapters, where a lot of people who are really fanatic about no cruelty to the people, but also to animals, but also to the agriculture, they are adapting the products first. But in order to have a much more bigger impact, we need to reach the people that are not willing to eat vegan products because they think it's boring or they are crazy or whatsoever. So we have created, in the end, chicken meat using plant-based ingredients, delivering on taste under a brand that connects with meat lovers and not vegans. So it is at least as good as chicken, and maybe it's even better. And best of all, it is more sustainable in the end. So we will now show a movie of our chef, Alberto, who will show you how our product looks like and what you can do with it.
En este vídeo voy a enseñarte cómo trabajar con Rib Chicken. Este producto va a revolucionar tu cocina.
Okay, that was not the right movie. I think Kevin just put this in as well to embarrass me a bit more. But let's go to the next one then. I hope it is in. Yeah.
En este vídeo voy a enseñarte cómo trabajar con Rib Chicken. Este producto va a revolucionar tu cocina. Aquí lo tienes, muy fácil de trabajar. Descongelamos, condimentamos, le damos forma y listo. Vamos con algunas ideas. Hamburguesas, un clásico que nunca pasa de moda. Cogemos 200 gramos de Rib Chicken, condimentamos y le damos forma de hamburguesa. La burger es exquisita y jugosa, pensada para auténticos meat lovers. Brochetas. Nadie se resiste al aroma y al sabor de Rib Chicken a la parrilla. Y como ves, su textura es completamente moldeable y fácil de trabajar. Dumplings y gyozas. Rib Chicken es perfecto para utilizarlo como relleno de dumplings o gyozas. Quedarás alucinado con el resultado. Empanadas. Imagínatela. Una cebolla grande, un poco de marrón rojo y verde, pimentón y ají molido y Rib Chicken. Nuggets. Rebozamos y a la freidora. Así de fácil. Las devorarás sin decir ni pío. Con un solo producto, tú puedes hacer hamburguesas, albóndigas, gyozas, empanadas. Vas a hacer Rib Chicken. El futuro es plant-based.
Right, so the thing that you can obviously see what's making our product unique is that it is a versatile product, meaning that it is really created for chefs or people who love to cook. So you can add flavorings to it, you can add herbs to it, and in the end you can shape it in any way that you want, and you can cook it in any way that you want. You can deep fry it, you can cook it, you can grill it. So that's a huge advantage that we are seeing right now compared to traditional products where you often don't have the choice. The other thing that is less clear in this movie, where you look foremost at the versatility of the product, is that we also have proprietary formulation of how we have created the product, and that has all to do with our own developed matrix, and it basically is about how we encapsulate the fat and allows our product to be incredibly versatile for all cuisines, but it also is incredibly juicy. So our founder Kevin has previously founded several businesses, and one of them was a company in the olive oil industry. So there we very much understood how fat treats products and how you can capture that, and that makes the products completely unique. And also when you will ever try the product, you will see that it is one of the most juiciest plant-based products that there is on the market right now. So for our future growth plan, Rib Chicken, what we have launched just this month, is just the beginning for us as well. And over the next few years, we will look into pork and beef products, but we're also looking into cultivated fat products, right? So probably will first be a hybrid product, and afterwards, depending of how the acceptance is of consumers and how the visibility is at the point in time, we will add those kind of products as well. So for us, obviously, the market size is an important aspect. We've seen so many different reports coming out of how large the market will be in 2030, for example. If you're a bit more pessimistic, maybe about $74 billion. If you are more optimistic, it could be $118 billion. The most important thing that you can see at this point in time is that the industry is taking off rapidly, right? So this is also for you guys as a food technologist, as I would say, the right angle to look into and how you can help these kind of companies. But as I also shared in the beginning, it's not for us about the money. The most important thing is that by 2030, we will offset about 53 million kilos of CO2, save about 7.5 billion liters of water, and 6.2 million chickens. And this is all a very simple formula in the end. So reducing our dependence on animal meat can help the planet become green again. And it's a simple formula. All the space for animal livestock and the space needed to grow food for these animals will be restored, and the recovered land will be converted to plant biomass. So photosynthesis will do the rest in the end. And eliminating the animal out of the equation will ensure that we can feed 10 billion people by 2050. and we will stop the confinement, misery, and slaughter of billions of animals per year. So this is something that are looking to achieve, but it's not something that we mention into our marketing, as I've explained, that the most important reason for us is to reach the larger market in the end. So final thoughts from our side. To go back to the anecdote of the German doctor, his discovery had helped thousands of people around the world. And it's actually the real story of our founder's Kevin's grandfather. And he was given the Nobel Prize in 1956. So he inspired not only Kevin, but also thousands of other people to never accept things the way they are, because it's always been done this way. So you are the new generation that will feed us, and you need to be brave. You need to question everything, even old traditions, and don't be scared about rejection, even when they call you crazy, because people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that do. So that's related to our mission and vision as well. Our mission is to become the coolest global plant-based meat company. And our vision is a world where animal meat becomes a thing of the past. So we are always expanding and looking for new talent. So if you want to come and work at the coolest plant-based meat company, you can either as an intern or as a food scientist, you're more than welcome to be in touch. So my contacts you will receive after the presentation as well. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Sven, thank you for this amazing presentation. I must really say I like your company's name, and you've proven with the presentation that Rib Chicken can and should take over. We have few questions from the audience. First question is, when can we expect Rib Chicken in other parts of Europe?
So we launched actually this month here in Spain. We are planning to go at in next year to Western Europe, right? And so it will probably be the Benelux and the UK firstly.
Okay, thank you. Are you a business-to-business company or business-to-customer company?
Yeah, so our focus right now is B2B indeed, on food service, so meaning restaurants and chains. In the end, we could add more ready-to-eat products for larger companies, as for example, they are doing right with KFC. And thank you very much, Kevin. But in the end, we could also will go into retail in the end, but it's not sure if it will be a versatile product or a ready-to-eat product.
Okay. Would you reach supermarkets in Latin America? How long do you think it will take for the products to reach Latin America?
Latin America, let's say like that, is not our main focus. Mm-hmm. If we will find a great partner who we could operate with, then that could be an option for the next year, but definitely not this year. Okay,
thanks. What is the basis for your product? Which ingredients?
Right. So in the end, the most important aspect is the soy protein. And we also use different other things, as for example, methyl cellulose, palm oil, but also we use something as smoked water, for example. So these are one of the few ingredients, and there are less than 8 ingredients in the product in total.
Okay. Wait. We have some question, and you said that you are accepting interns. So, or will the company try to make whole meat cuts as well?
So whole cut meats is something that is really interesting for us. As we are aware, the technology is not there yet, but there are some companies that showing very promising results. So yes, in the end, we will focus on those kind of products as well.
Do you think it's meaningless to advertise meat analogs on the basis of morality?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Do you think it's meaningless to advertise meat analogs on the basis of morality?
I'm I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly. Can I read it as well somewhere?
Yeah.
Let me see. I can't find it.
We will send you into chat. It's in chat now.
Oh yeah. Well, what we are thinking is that the majority of the people, they are more triggered by positive feelings in the end, and they want to have a brand that they can relate to and that they find cool and interesting. A lot of the traction that has come before of plant-based companies is obviously being created with focusing on why you shouldn't eat meat. So for us, that has been done and that has worked. But now to reach the larger market, for us, there are still people who would like to consume meat maybe once or twice a week, and that shouldn't be a problem, especially not when there's like cultured meat as well on the market. So for us, it's more of a focus of keeping our brand open also to new solutions. So if we focus from a brand that is very much focused on vegans, and then we will go into cultivated products, then there could be a part of the vegan group as your consumers who will accept it, and a part who doesn't like it, right? Because it's still, it is definitely a meat product in the end. So for us to be as a brand more focusing on people who would like to have or help with like a better climate in the end, right? For them, it could be interesting to less focus on those aspects. So that's indeed that we think that is useful.
Have you thought of using other ingredients instead of palm oil, as palm oil is not very sustainable?
Yeah, so we use sustainable palm oil. Kevin was very quick to answer that. And indeed, we can explain a bit more into detail. It's a long story. The most important aspect is that a lot of oils as being used right now with coconut oil is that they burn at a very low temperature. So if they are located into a product, they will most of the time ends up in the pan instead of in the product, right? So this is one of the advantages, and also something we'll explore in the near future.
Okay, we have one last question, I think. What is the next step you are focusing on right now?
So with the business itself, as we are talking about business and sales, then it will be to take off in Spain mostly. So we have great deals now with distributors. We are available, so we want to expand that as quickly as possible and get the awareness of the brand out. In terms of product development, we are working on a cultivated product in the end. So it will be a hybrid product.
Yeah, we're looking forward to taste your chicken here in Croatia too. Someday maybe.
For sure. It will arrive there as well.
Yeah, thank you once again.